Hello, my name is Robby Thigpen. I'm with Marine Conservation Without Borders, and as our name implies, our research does not stop at the beach. I think most of you may have read that I've been living with Indigenous peoples off and on from 1996, and I respect these people that I live with and deeply immersed in their cultures, and I don't speak for them or their cultures. I would never usurp their authority to do so. I only speak for the project and what we're doing together. And I'm very thankful for that. And I also want to tell you that most of our materials begin as either English, Spanish, and sometimes both. And we're just beginning to work some materials that we're going to have. It's going to begin in Portuguese with our good friend Luisa Diela Viegas from Brazil. And so that's pretty exciting. And so yeah, we're trying to create these materials, and essentially what we're doing is we're trying to fill in this gap right here. There's a lot of literature that says that bilingual curriculum using indigenous language is important to create. There's not a lot of success here and there for whatever reason, and sciences has been particularly hard to create. So there's a lot of literature that says these things are needed. There's no literature for us to work on to develop our methods. So everything we're starting from scratch. One of the hardest things about this project was learn how to talk about it. Today I would tell you that we're combining non-Western ecological knowledge systems with Western science to create contextual biology curriculum in the local language of the indigenous communities that we serve. I learned about my ecological knowledge system of the Carolinas, low country of the Carolinas, Middle Swamp behind me, Big Petite River, Santee, Winyah Bay, the Atlantic Ocean from my dad, my grandfather, my uncles and aunts, and the other people in the community, and from just being and doing things in these systems. And that's how my Indigenous brothers learned about theirs. They know about their systems the same way I do. They didn't learn them out of a book, they learn about this. Unlike many of my Indigenous brothers and sisters, not all, but many, I also studied biology at university. So I have these two different ecological knowledge systems that exist within me without conflict, and I have no trouble at all code switching between these two different knowledge systems. I'm not going to talk a lot about our methodologies today, but this is one of them. We must be aware of the culture of the people we work with and their needs and perspectives regarding these natural resources if we're to be successful in contributing to management policies. Because if we don't, we lose everything. And something I'm going to really emphasize is whenever a child looks into his father's eyes and says, "Daddy, I'm hungry," no amount of patrolling or resource management laws or anything is going to matter. The only thing that matters is stopping the child's pain. And so we need to think about those things when we're doing stuff and always take those kind of things into consideration. This is my dad. He's the one that began my biology education. He drove a train for the railroad. And those fish right there are my favorite fish to eat on the whole planet. They're brim, is what we call them. And where I said I was comfortable code switching, there's some things I'm more comfortable talking about in the vernacular of my father than in the vernacular of biology. But really they're the same thing. And I know everything about these fish that I need to know. And I've been catching these fish since I was a little boy and been cleaning them. I know when the time of year is where we're going to catch the most of them. You and I would call that animal behavior. Me and Dad call that putting them in the boat. I know what they eat. I don't have to do a stable isotope analysis of Sparkleberry Swamp to know what these fish have been eating. I've cleaned so many of them. I know what they're eating just by spilling their guts on the table. You and I would call that stomach content analysis. Me and my dad calls it cleaning fish. So you learn things from doing things in these ecosystems. But like I said, I also studied at the university, and as a part of my studies, I wanted to come to Belize and do a stable isotope analysis of the food web associated with Panularis argus. I had money for a lot of things. I was down there with the Northern Fishermen's Cooperative and met with fisheries regularly. But the one thing I didn't have money for was boat time to collect tissue samples. So I had to earn that. And I didn't earn money for that. One day I finagled my way onto a boat and worked this side. Man, so all I want is I work for you. All I need is a little tissue sample, and I want to measure your catch and determine whether they're male or female, and just write that down. If you let me do that, I'll work for free. And the fisherman, Polo, was hesitant, but he took me. And what I learned real quick is that I kind of knew my way around a boat. I've been fishing all my life and been pulling crab traps in our artisanal crab fishery in Winyah Bay. Fish got calanectes there. And so I knew what we were doing more or less. Didn't use a hook stick, but I had to kind of get that down. But I more or less already knew what we were doing. And that mattered. And pretty soon the word got out that I worked cheap, that all I wanted was to do some science stuff, and that I worked for free, and I worked hard. And so I began a new education, learning about these ecosystems, from operating these ecosystems. I didn't just work with the lobster traps, I did everything the fishermen did. And so I learned more and more from them teaching me directly and from me learning indirectly just by operating these systems. And what I learned is that a lot of times my ecological knowledge wasn't that different. We got red snappers in the Atlantic Ocean up here. We're going to go catch some next week. On the 10th, I got a trip deep, and we're going to catch some. How many different ways are there to catch a snapper? Not that many. And we got other kinds of snapper too. And we got spadefish, and we got some lobster up here too, but you got to dive for them in deep water. We just got a few strays. And on the terrestrial systems, we got deer, we got pine forest, we've got turkey, we got raccoons, we got possum, we got a big cat that lives up here. And the palmetto tree is on our flag. It's our state tree. It's our state symbol. And what I was learning is that in a lot of areas where there's some things there were big differences, but other things, it wasn't all that different. I was seeing more similarities than I was seeing differences everywhere I went. And that was a wonderful thing. And I mostly was, my code was switched that way. I also learned the language. I don't sound like Lisa down in Placentia. She sounded like she was born in Gales Point. I sound like I'm a white man just trying to pretend to talk Creole, but I understand it good. These are my teachers. They didn't like me to use English in the house, and so I didn't. But they laugh at me whenever I use Creole, even today. And 3 of these young ladies, Ida, Celeste, and Yadi, will grow up to work on the project as ethno-translators for us. But they taught me the Creole, and they did good in school. They got good March teachers or good teachers, but they taught them in Creole. But sometimes they struggled with their homework when it was written in English. I also saw outside stakeholders, like a biologist from the States, come and work with the fishermen. And he's speaking English to them, and he's not realizing that some of the words in English sound the same in Creole, but they mean something different. Stuff would go wrong. And I thought there had to be a better way. And so I did something. I wrote a book, a science book in Creole, called Lee and the Lobster, named after my grandmother. And I followed the lobster from where she was birthed, hatched out of the egg, philosoma larva, went out to pelagic, met a whale shark, came back in, lived in the seagrass, hung out in the mangroves, met a manatee, and it's little four short chapters. And all, but it's a good platform to build from, good foundation. The children translate into Creole for me. And then I sent it to, I've been talking to Miss Myrna at the Belize Creole Council and Silvana about what I was doing, and they were all about it. The first guy that carried me fishing polo, I talked to him about it. He knew exactly what, me and him talked about it for hours at the time because we were in the boat together. And he knew what I was doing. And anyway, I sent the document to the Creole Council. Savannah edited it, made a good proper Creole, fixed everything. I printed it, and I came back. And I showed it to everybody. And everybody liked it, said a lot of good things. It's beautiful. We had some nice illustrations from Deb. I mean, it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous material. And then I carried it to Polo, my ecosystems expert, my indigenous ecosystems expert. And he said, oh, this was real nice. He said all the good things that everybody else said. But I was waiting. I knew he was going to say something else. And then he asked me a question. He said, what other languages have you got this in? I said, just Creole and English. I was excited about that. He's like, oh, okay, well, that's nice, but, you know, brother, I don't think this is going to work like you want it to. So what do you mean? He said, well, there's mosquito in Honduras, and what they're doing in Honduras affects us. There's 5 languages here that aren't English and Spanish, and what we do affects Quintana Roo. It's not going to work. You got to do it in all the languages. And I was like, wow, that's pretty big ask you're getting me there. And I started looking into that. I started trying to find linguists that knew anything about some of these other places, because I didn't know everybody in these other places like I knew in northern Belize. And I ran into a lot of brick walls, a lot of people telling me it can't be done, and all this stuff I didn't want to hear. And finally I got tired of listening to that noise, and I joined the Honduras chapter of SMBC and started networking with biologists throughout Mesoamerica. But I did more than that. I started reaching out to indigenous peoples groups I didn't know, other Maya groups I didn't know, and talking with them, explaining to them what I wanted to do, sharing about the project. And the more I shared about the project with everybody, the better I was able to talk about it, and the better people understood what we were doing. And they're like, yeah, let's do this. We will collaborate with you. We won't translate, we'll collaborate. And that's what we did. This is our first prototype. Now, a lot of the material content in here is reduced to facilitate developing our methods. That was necessary because developing our methods was the end goal of this particular book. And that's what we got. This is Maya Yucateco. It says Marine Conservation Without Borders, the mangroves. And this is, we developed this material with Maya, with Hilario Pucahun from Quintana Roo. We got 4 or 5 books here. All these books are free to download from our free digital library on our website. I hope you'll do that and let me know what you think. But I got a little piece from most of the books. This is the introduction by Miss Felicita Cantun from Yo Creek. Really happy for what she wrote. This is Manawarkit, Closa Dangriga, Belize. And need to thank Lisa Mulcahy for this image. And this is in Creole. It says, how to think clear with good sense, which is, in English, is critical thinking skills. And so we got something really nice here. This is in Nawainaki from Colombia. We created this with Minta, and we're real thankful for her contribution to this. None of this would be possible without our co-authors. And they're listed as co-author on the book. On the cover, they're in the citation, and the people that ethno-translate this material, they're everything to this project. I need to thank Alvaro for helping me get that picture from near Cartagena. I need to thank Antonio Buciello for this image from Belize, the underwater ecosystems. This is in Mosquito from our good friend Scott Woods Ronas from Bruce Laguna in Honduras. This is from Livingston, Guatemala. I need to thank Elmer for helping us with that. And we're also working on a language in Quechua with Elmer Fernando Pop in Quechua for there. He's also from Livingston. We'll have that out soon. Need to thank Vane Argueta for this image from Cuero y Salado, but this is talking about the storm surges protecting from everything. No book was complete without review and glossaries and stuff like that. Our review also contains a couple of outdoor activities. That activity was designed by Grazia Matamoros, formerly of Roatan Marine Park, and she teaches the children how to grow mangroves. Right there, if your school's close to sea, you grow a mangrove. And that's a lesson that will live with them as they grow into adults and start having children of their own. Also, if your school's not close to the sea, we teach you how to ride a native tree. And of course, here's the glossary. This is the term for climate change in Wayunaki. And this is important. This has got the term for climate change, the part of speech, and then it's also got the definition following that. We had some meetings afterwards. After the meeting at the SMBC Congress in Antigua this year, I met with all the people in this region that I'm working with, talked to them about it, got nice comments from them. This is one of the meetings that we had. This is a workshop put on by the Ministry of Education in Honduras and hosted by Dixon Alvarez at the Garifuna Museum in Corazon. And all the indigenous groups of Honduras are there. And we got a lot of nice comments. We had books for two of the groups that were there, and that was really nice that when they saw their science book for the first time. But like I said, we got a lot of nice comments from everyone. I think they can be best summed up in these two comments right here. One from Hilario. Says he's very proud that his language and ecological knowledge is being used to teach the biological sciences. And Laura Hobson said, your science curriculum can be used as genre-based pedagogy to teach language and culture. Each sentence is a gold mine of grammatical and cultural information. I don't think anybody's ever said that about a science book before. If you know differently, you let me know. But I'm awful proud of both of those statements. Thank you. We learned a lot from creating these materials. We're trying to develop, if we can find the funding, we're going to develop a new textbook with richer content, multiple themes, and that's going to be titled Treasure of the Caribbean. And we're talking about things like manatees, working on this here. Now most of these images, these illustrations you see were created by Madison Hetzel. There's one that's not, and we need to thank her for that. But this is on manatees with Fabio Olacorona and Natalie Casablanca Martinez. And this is what we're writing on. So we're introducing taxonomy in these themes. We're also, and this was contributed by my good classmate Anna Phillips from Appalachian State, and so we got that. But this manatee is a West African manatee. It's not from around here. So when we show the big picture of some of these issues, and nets are a problem everywhere. This image was created by Cara Gutierrez of the howler monkey, and we're creating this material on howler monkeys, los monos aladores, the spirits of the forest, with Pedro Mendez and Carol, and they were the University of Panama and the Foundation for the Preservation of Panamanian Primates. So into the individual chapters, we go a little bit deeper into the materials. We talk more about the taxonomy of the primates. Of course, we got beautiful pictures. We also have a family tree. I don't do clades. This is our family tree. You see us on the bottom right-hand corner, and then genus Alawata, the howler monkeys, in the middle left bottom. And once again, we show these connections. We try to show the bigger picture when we have the opportunity. And this isn't any different. The wildlife corridors are important to jaguars and to tapirs and howler monkeys, as well as deforestation is a big issue for those same animals. So just with a subtle image, we can show the bigger picture there. I need to thank Esteban Payan in Panthera, Colombia for that image. This is the national bird of Honduras, and that's a pretty cool thing to have. Working on this with Laura Kim Joyner with One Earth Conservation. And once again, we're showing the big picture here. And one of the issues we're talking about in this is the illegal pet trade, and that's an issue for the white-faced capuchin as well as the scarlet macaw. And both of those images are from Honduras. One is from near La Ceiba, and the other is in Mabita in La Mesquita. Francisca Elmer, we really thank her for contacting us and asking me to participate in this. I'm thankful for that. But after a couple of conversations, she realized I didn't have anything with coral. And she said, well, and we talked about it and said, well, we need to do this. Let's do this. And we did. We decided to write something on the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef that focuses on corals. And this is what we kind of threw together really quickly so we can include it in this presentation. And this is what we got. And this was what more like the content of the new themes looks like, is just like this. We see both languages on one page, but they use up the whole page. There's no questions, no activities. And this goes on like this for 3 pages, this unit will. And we got images that really tickle the retinas. And so this is more like the layout of in the body of the materials. And we need to thank Mickey Chateris at Caribbean Reef Life for helping us with these images. He donated those at the last minute so we could put this together. And that's what we're trying to do. I think I mentioned everybody's name that's in this presentation. I'm pretty sure I left somebody out. I'm going to feel so guilty if you tell me. Don't remind me of that. Just ignore it and know that I love you, and I'm very thankful for everybody that's working with us. And these are some of the organizations that work with us. And everybody's name I mentioned today, and these organizations are Marine Conservation Without Borders. You can be too. And thank you so much for your time today, and I really enjoyed speaking with you.